That's just the pinnacle. But you guys, children, are going to know more. And if I can return quickly back to this brother's question, what he said, we will purchase them, and that it's not that they'll be our slaves, but the Most High had me working with many of these people, and I was able to learn how to speak the language more, to be able to, you know what I mean, to figure out the word more. But I also was able to find a lot of gems. For instance, this book, which is called, I don't know if you guys can see it.
Yep, it's nice and big. We can see it.
Okay, so this was a book written in, I got this from one of the Gentiles. I guess you guys can remember, Galatians chapter 3 says that there are neither Jew nor Gentile, male or female, bond or free, but all are one in Yeshua HaMashiach. So as Romans, the book of Romans chapter 14 talks about, that the Gentiles will be grafted in. This is why the Noahide laws, if you can take it to the beginning, the people who practice Judaism, they never want to, they always want to take you back to they hate Paul, but the Noahide laws are basically what Paul was saying, that people who are not Israel. So now look at this. You see this book right here, y'all? The Rothschilds printed this out. I was able to find this gem of a book because of a Gentile.
Sis, I gotta jump in and say something too, okay?
Yeah.
On that note, on Paul and his message being curtailed towards the Gentiles in the form of the Noahide laws, that point you just made went over 98% of the community's head. I'm sure they don't know what you're talking about. Everybody has a contention with Paul in the Israelite communities. Even the Israelites that say, I mess with Paul, I just, disagree with some. Israelites are reading into his letters wrong. They think he's addressing every Israelite, and he's not. He makes it clear he's coming for those who are not of the circumcision. And in so doing, he presents them with a Noahide way of looking at Torah, which means they're not duty bound to keep all of the law like Israelites are. And that's why he says in Galatians, if you are circumcised in flesh, then you are bound to keep the entire Torah, because he's not speaking to everybody. He's speaking to the Gentiles. And that's why he's presenting to them the Noahide laws, because as a student of the highest echelon of learning in Israel in his time, which is the rabbinical schools, these very same schools that Yeshua said, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in the seat of Moses, therefore everything they teach you shall do. He comes from that school of thought so that they know that the Creator gave 613 commandments only to Israel. Only. Gentiles look crazy talking about, it's Shavuot. What am I doing today? No, you doing whatever you was doing last week, because Shavuot is for us. Right. God called us on Mount Sinai and gave us Torah. Shavuot don't got nothing to do with you.
Right.
Our problem as Israelites is we start getting on the street corners without fully being taught ourselves. And we're telling the Gentiles that they're wrong if they think they don't got to keep the 613 commandments. Are you kidding me? God didn't give them 613 commandments. He gave us, sis. And I guess you can hear I'm fired up in my voice, but I'm gonna stop in a moment. But I just want to get this point out. I always say in our classes that if you look at the nation of Israel on a whole, there are 613 laws, 365 negative commandments or prohibitions, and 248 positive commandments or positive injunctions, things that he tells you you shall do. Among all the commandments, just think about it for a moment. How many apply to men? How many apply to women? How many apply to children only? How many apply to the priests only? How many apply to the king only? How many apply to the prophets only? How many apply to women during their nida? I met a brother that told me the other day that he keeps Torah. I said, what do you keep? He said, I keep all 613 commandments. I got the hell up away from him.
Exactly.
Because one of the commandments is that if a woman is on her nida, she's to be separated. Brother, you on your nida? You got a monthly? Ain't no man alive to say he keep all 613 commandments. Some of those commandments apply exclusively to women alone. You sound crazy.
Period.
We could say the same thing about women. There's no woman alive that could say that she keeps all 613 commandments, because some exclusively apply to men. Then there's commandments that were given to the prophets, the kings, the priests, A leper. Listen, nobody could keep all 613 commandments. What we know is there are about 287 commandments that we all can keep. But the vast majority of them are broken down, some for kings exclusively, some for priests. Now, when you look at the laws, you will find that the majority of the laws given were given to men. And I could talk about the implications of that, but I'm gonna make the men real sad if I have to go into that. But I'll talk about that one day. But most of the laws were given to men, right? And on that note,
can I push back real quick, Zion?
Hold on one point. Hold on one moment. Most of the laws were given to men, right? And on that note, within the structure of men, most of the laws given were given to priests, which means then, out of all the nation of Israel, everybody included man, woman, and child, king, priest, and prophet. Nobody keeps more laws than the priests. Now think about this. God said about the children of Israel that we are a nation of priests. So if within our culture, nobody keeps more laws than the priests, and the Creator referred to the nation of Israel collectively as a nation of priests, then why would we think that the nations have to do everything that we have to do? We're the priests. We naturally are enjoined to do more before the Almighty, because the closer you are to Him, the more rules there are in attaining that relationship. And the further you are away from Him, the less rules that there are. So that's why Paul was right and exact when his message in curtailing it towards the Gentiles, he's telling them it's not for you to do all that. God gave that to Israel, but you got Israelites online talking about Paul wicked, Paul trying to get people to not keep the law. Y'all need to read the books again and see that Paul is not talking to Israelites. He's talking to Gentiles. And therefore, he's rightfully telling them it wasn't all for you. I brought that up because you brought up the no-hide laws in Paul, so I got a little fired up behind it.
Before the brother goes, I just want to say, what was it? Oh, Jewish people, people who practice Judaism, and Muslims don't like him either. So that's why I would beg to differ and ask the Israelite community: are y'all practicing Islam or not? You opened it up like that too. Remember, you was like, people were thinking, oh, y'all just are we a more stricter version of Islam? That's what's being happened here. If people not realizing that they're taking out Yeshua, they're taking out the truth, and they're not understanding. In Second Peter, in Second Cephas, he said Paul's writings are hard to understand, and the reason why that is because the only way you can understand Paul's writings is if you have the Ruach, unless it is given to you by the Father. So a lot of people who are so puffed up and arrogant, thinking, no. These are the people who don't know the language. These are the people who cannot come up here quoting scripture at all. When you speak to them, you're not going to hear scripture come out their mouth. Yeshua didn't come to talk about himself. He came to talk about Yah. And so this is why, and I love that you brought that with the Noahide, because these Torah only people, I'm like, well, go back to the Torah. I always got to take them back to the big. Let's go to the Torah. Let's go to the prophets. And I'm still going to show you Yeshua HaMashiach in all of those books. So it don't matter. So that's why whoever's ready, come on. I'm ready for the debate. We got to get this word out, because my thing is people need to learn.
Adoma, you said you wanted to you said you wanted to give a pushback on something I said. Remind me of what I said and then go into your pushback.
I think you kind of it was more just concerning you said the no-hide laws. I'm not really familiar with that term, but I guess what I would push back on would really just be how you would exegete Paul's message, and how you would say that he was more concerned with those who are not Israelites. But I guess the point that I'm trying to mainly push on is that in the Torah, we see that when they are bought, they are to be treated like one who is, you know what I'm saying, native born.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would go ahead, finish your point.
No, that's it.
Yeah. So what I would say is that that's a great question that you asked. So Paul, first of all, the no-hide laws is a rabbinic defined term. It's not a rabbinic originating term. It's a rabbinic defined term to refer to it as the Noahide laws. But the Noahide laws, essentially, my brother, is Genesis chapter 9. So if you look at Genesis chapter 9, when Noah and his children came off the ark, the Creator had some laws for them. What I'm about to say, and I say this with all due humility, might be powerful for some. You remember in the New Testament, Paul says something to the extent that because the law was given for sin and transgression. And there are people who take that out of context and say, wait, the Torah is here to perfect us. What is Paul talking about? The law was given because of sin and transgression. Like, what is Paul talking about? But I think I could make it make sense. If you look at Adam, how many laws did the Creator give to him initially?
Like a handful.
One.
Oh, okay, for sure.
Right? You shall not what? Eat from the tree that's in the midst of the garden.
Yep.
Right? And its fruit thereof. You could even say 2. The book of Genesis on a whole has 3 out of the 613 commandments. Like, I could break them down by book, by
multiply on the earth.
Exactly. You shall be fruitful and multiply on the earth. The book of Genesis on a whole has 3 commandments from the Creator to Israel. All right. Now, by the time we get to Noah, we got 7 additional more. Right. And what's important about that is Noah is not just giving that to Shem. Ham gets that. Japheth gets that. So that's why those laws that when Noah came off the ark that God gave him is referred to as the Noahide laws, because the Creator spoke that to Noah, that Noah would teach that not to his one child, but to his 3 children. So when you look at the laws that Noah gave to his children, you literally see that they match up with what's called the Noahide laws. So that's where the Noahide laws come from.
But Noah,
exactly.
Okay.
Right. So now watch where things get interesting now, because I'm building on a point now. So by the time of Adam, you only have about 3 laws. By the time of Noah, 7 more are given, so you got about 10. By the time of Abraham, you got about 248. If you notice, from Adam to Noah, sin is increasing. From Noah to Abraham, sin is increasing even more. So that now, by the time you get to the nation of Israel, the Creator has 613 laws for them. And remember, the majority of them are prohibitions, what we shall not do. They're about transgression. There are 365 of them. So when Paul says that the law was given because of transgression, that's a literal fact. Adam wasn't given 613 laws, nor was Noah, nor was Abraham. But by the time we get to Israel, which mankind on a whole is in a completely wicked state, you now have 613 laws. And the common theme and denominator there is the increasing of sin. So that's what made Paul right when he said that sin was given, the Torah was given, or the law was given due to transgression and sin. Right? That's putting that within context.